So you want to create a lasting legacy. These are some strategies to help you create generational wealth. Hi, I'm Doug Ray, president and founder of the Wealth Guardians and the Ray Financial Group.
And I'm Brice Payne, and you've entered The Vault, the Wealth Guardians video series on all things pertaining to retirement planning. In this episode, we're going to talk about how to build a legacy. We're going to cover life insurance, good debt versus bad debt, how to make your work pay off, how to pass it along, and what is dollar cost averaging. Like I always do, I'm going to bring your attention to these like and subscribe buttons down below the screen there. If you want to catch future episodes of The Vault with Doug, Garrett, and myself, make sure you click on those and subscribe to us. Other than that, let's go ahead and get into this. Doug, why don't we first start off by just explain to everybody what legacy and wealth building is?
Well, sure. Basically, building a legacy is not just for yourself and your spouse, but also it's something that you can pass down to your children and your grandchildren.
Okay.
And, a lot of people have that goal.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So one of the first things that we want to talk about when it comes to building a legacy for yourself is life insurance. What kind of role does life insurance play in all of this?
Yeah, I wanted to mention life insurance, and not necessarily it comes at first place, but it's often very overlooked to grow your wealth. And what I prefer is cash value life insurance in the form of index universal life. And index universal life, the growth engine in that policy is some sort of an indexing strategy, such as the S&P 500 or some other indexes. And of course, your premiums go in that, they grow over time.
Okay.
If properly built, you could actually take withdrawals out of these policies in future years and not pay tax on them. And you can also get these policies of what's called living benefits.
Okay.
Now, living benefit says that if something happened where you can't do 2 of the 6 ADLs, activities of daily living, or you're cognitively impaired, then you can use some of that death benefit to help defray medical costs or home health or long-term care needs.
So IULs can have a type of a long-term care insurance built into it.
They sure can.
Okay.
Let me give you an example of what I did several years ago. About 4 years ago, I borrowed out of a index universal life policy for a down payment on the condo up in the Boone area. And of course, the real estate prices up there have just gone crazy since then. So that helped me start to build up some of this generational wealth we're talking about.
Okay.
And we paid it back a few years later. So
just a tax-free loan.
Yep. You do it over and over again.
Okay. That sounds like there's no downside to that at all. All right. Let's talk about making your wealth. Now, let's start off by talking about debt. There's good debt and there's bad debt.
Yeah. Most people don't like debt.
I usually don't think of good debt, but there is good debt.
Yeah, there is. Let's talk about it in these terms. Let's say you borrowed money to get a higher education so that you could get higher income in the future. That's good debt. That's an investment.
Right.
And then a home purchase.
Okay.
A mortgage is good debt because, number one, you're buying a home, you're creating equity.
Mm-hmm.
The interest on that mortgage you can write off on your tax return, and eventually you'll pay that debt off.
And real estate's generally an appreciating asset.
And it is.
Okay. All right.
Using debt to start a business.
Not the good idea.
Good debt makes a lot of sense.
Absolutely.
And then also buying some rental income properties. You're creating equity there, income there. So that's creating generational wealth.
In sense, a business in and of itself.
Right. And again, all this debt will eventually get paid off.
Okay. Very good. Now, let's talk about making your work pay off. What do you mean by that?
This is something you don't really think of that much. What I'm talking about here is you want to be the hardest and smartest worker in your firm so that you can get those good promotions, so that you can get ever increasing income, so that you can reinvest that income.
Okay.
And then maybe you get a second job. Some people call it a side hustle.
That is what the kids are calling it these days.
And then take that money and put it into some sort of investment.
All right. So working harder, working smarter. Mm-hmm. Okay. Very good. And then what is this about passing it along?
Passing along, kind of like helping your loved ones out. maybe start an educational fund for somebody, or help somebody finance a home where you hold the mortgage. That way you're getting interest on your money, and you're also helping a family member get their start.
Having it stay in the family as opposed to going out to some for-profit business.
Exactly.
Okay, very good. And then we want to talk about dollar cost averaging here. You and I know what this is, but this might be a term that people don't know.
I think the easiest way to explain it is start a 401k. Every pay period, you put some money into that 401k, at least up to the company match, and if more if you can.
Okay.
And every pay period, whether the market's up or the market's down, your dollar cost averaging into those funds, and over time, that will build wealth. The other way you could do it, open up a brokerage account, and then every pay period, put some money in that brokerage account. And the simplest thing to do is to buy the S&P 500 index, the ETF, SPY.
Right.
Because its track record is good, but it's dollar cost averaging. Some pay periods you're going to buy it low, some pay periods you're going to buy 100, but over the long haul, it's going to go up in value.
But just the idea of it is to do it over regular increments. Don't just contribute once in a while here and once in a while there. Do it consistently. And it could be to the IUL as well.
It could be.
Okay. So that doesn't have to be just to a 401k. All right. So the last thing that I guess we want to cover here, or is that the last thing? Is there anything else that concepts that we want to go over to help somebody understand how to create a legacy for them?
Well, I think those 5 strategies we covered enough here to
good baseline
generational wealth.
Okay. Very good. And, like we say, we here at the Wealth Guardians, we do have a lot of clients who have defined to some degree or another a legacy that they want to leave for their kids. And these are the basic steps that you would want to do to make sure that happens.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, that's going to wrap it up for this episode of The Vault. Again, there they are right below the screen here, those like and subscribe buttons. You know how to click on those if you want to catch future episodes of The Vault with Doug, Garrett, and myself. Other than that, that's going to wrap it up for this episode of The Vault. I'm Brice Payne.
And I'm Doug Ray.
And this has been The Vault.